When Emma texted, "Business trip extended. Be home next week," I stared at the screen for a full minute before the words began to sink in. It wasn't the message itself that bothered me. It was the ease with which she wrote it, like she'd done this before. No apology, no explanation, no warmth. Just a fact dropped like a stone in cold water. I typed a short, "Okay" in reply and set my phone down, but something inside me shifted. For the first time in our 8-year marriage, I didn't feel anxious, confused, or hurt. I just felt done. Emma worked as a corporate consultant for a marketing firm. Her trips were frequent, sometimes spontaneous, and always longer than she promised. I used to wait for her calls, track her flights, and send goodnight texts she rarely answered. But lately, her absences felt deliberate, her excuses mechanical. "The client needs me for one more presentation," she'd say, smiling too quickly, already reaching for her suitcase again. I remembered when she first started at the company, nervous, eager, asking for my opinion on every project. We'd sit on the couch late at night, sharing ideas, laughing about office drama. Somewhere along the way, that woman disappeared. The one who came home now was polished, distant, and always distracted by her phone. She'd tell me stories about a colleague named Daniel, a senior executive, divorced, great at mentoring her. I never questioned it, though something in my gut twisted each time his name came up. That night after her text, I sat alone in our living room. Her coffee mug still on the counter, her sweater draped over the chair. The silence felt heavier than usual. I poured myself a drink and thought about the last real conversation we'd had, 3 weeks ago, when I asked her if she was happy. She smiled faintly and said, "Don't start this again, Adam. You worry too much." Maybe she was right. Maybe I did worry too much. Or maybe I had ignored the truth long enough. In my line of work, private security, I'd seen what secrets looked like when they started to rot. Emma's tone, her absences, her sudden confidence. They all had the same smell. So I decided that night I wouldn't confront her, wouldn't accuse her. No shouting, no begging. Instead, I would find out everything. Quietly. Completely. Because when the truth finally came, I wanted her to see the same calm in my eyes that she used to see in her own reflection. The next morning I called in sick. My company owed me enough favors to let me disappear for a few days without raising eyebrows. I spent that time not sulking but preparing. Emma had always underestimated me when it came to technology. She thought of me as the manual guy, someone who dealt with locks, alarms, and bodyguards. What she didn't realize was that I'd learned how to protect people by first learning how they get betrayed. I started with the basics, her email. She used the same password format for everything. Her late father's initials and our wedding year. Took me less than 3 tries to get in. The first thing I noticed was a flight confirmation that didn't match the city she claimed to be in. She told me she was flying to Denver. The ticket, however, said Los Angeles. Same dates. Different reality. Then came the hotel receipt. 2 names on the booking, hers and Daniel's. That was when it stopped being suspicion and became confirmation. Still, I didn't feel anger. Just a strange, hollow calm. I printed the receipts, the email thread, and the time-stamped photos she'd shared with him from her hotel room. Every pixel was evidence of a woman who thought her husband was too trusting to look closer. Over the next few days, I watched her online activity, location pings, transactions, even Uber rides. She was having dinner in places she once said were too expensive for work trips. I could have confronted her then, but that would have given her the satisfaction of control. The tears, the half apology, the deflection. No, I wanted something quieter, something that would sting deeper than an argument. When she finally texted, "Miss you. Be home soon," I almost laughed. Miss me? The irony of it was almost poetic. I responded with a simple heart emoji. It wasn't for her. It was for the plan that was now complete. I went to our shared bank account and began the transfers. Half the savings moved to a private account in my name only. The mortgage papers, already paid off, were adjusted through my lawyer, who owed me a favor from a past job. The house, the cars, even the insurance, everything that bore both our names now bore only mine. I wasn't punishing her. I was just making sure that when she came home, there would be nothing left to return to. That night, I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, staring at her side of the bed. It felt strange realizing how little I'd actually miss her. Love can fade so quietly that by the time betrayal arrives, it finds an empty space. Emma came home on a Thursday evening, suitcase rolling behind her, hair styled perfectly as if she'd stepped out of an advertisement instead of an airport. I was sitting at the kitchen table, calm, reading the newspaper. She smiled like nothing had changed. "Hey, stranger," she said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I turned slightly, letting her lips graze air. Her brows furrowed for just a moment, but she brushed it off, opening the fridge as if she still owned the space. "How was the trip?" I asked, voice even, eyes never leaving the page. "Busy. Exhausting," she replied, avoiding eye contact. "We had some delays, client stuff ran over. You know how it goes." "Denver's weather bad this time of year?" I asked. Her hand froze halfway to the orange juice. "Yeah," she said quickly, "terrible." I folded the paper and looked up at her. "I'm sure it was," I said quietly, sliding the printed flight receipt across the table. She looked at it, then at me, her face draining of color. Before she could speak, I placed another paper down, hotel records, her messages with Daniel, and the photos. The silence that followed was surgical. She didn't cry, not at first. She just stared at them, her mouth slightly open, like the air had been sucked out of the room. Then the excuses began. "It's not what it looks like. It was a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you." I listened, expressionless, until her voice cracked and faded. Finally I said, "You didn't just cheat on me, Emma. You erased me one lie at a time. I just made it official." She blinked. "What do you mean?" "You'll find out soon," I said, standing up. "Everything you built your little lies around, this house, this life, it's all gone. The lawyer will explain." The next morning her lawyer called me. Furious. Yelling about unfair division, fraudulent transfers, and emotional manipulation. I listened patiently, then told him, "Your client manipulated emotions for years. I just learned from the best." When Emma realized there was nothing she could fight for, she left. No goodbye, no closure. Just the sound of her suitcase wheels against the driveway. The same sound that used to break my heart but now felt like freedom. Weeks later I saw a photo online. Her with Daniel at some rooftop bar, smiles too forced, eyes too tired. I closed my laptop and went outside, where the sun hit the porch just right. The air was clean. For the first time in years, so was I. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's silence. The kind that follows when you finally stop waiting for someone who never planned on coming home.